Okay, what we're going to be doing in class is we're going to be studying the iSearch paper. And actually, I want to bring up this particular screen right here. And the iSearch paper is going to function a little bit different than your typical research paper. A typical research paper is you find out with your finding, and then you go ahead and you discuss, you find research that support your findings. And here it works a little bit of opposite, in which this case you start off with a purpose for research, and then you go ahead and you conduct your research, and the iSearch paper talks about the discovery of your research. And then eventually at the conclusion of your paper, that's almost like where your thesis would lie, where like in a typical research paper, your thesis statement would lie in the introduction. Let's take a look at the definition of an iSearch paper. An iSearch paper is a personal research paper about a topic that is important to the writer. An iSearch paper is usually less formal than a traditional research paper. It tells the story of the writer's personal search for information as well as what the writers learned about the topic. Many iSearch papers use the structure illustrated in the framework below and print this framework and use it as a guide. Well, you guys will definitely have access to this particular guide in the collaboration section of an open class, so you could always go back and refer to it. Today, though, I don't want to overwhelm you with the whole entire thing, but what I want to do in class is basically break this down into sections, and in order for the whole research paper not to seem so overwhelming. Well, one way to look at it is that the iSearch paper can look very similar to this simple graphic organizer that many of you guys have been doing ever since the beginning of time. Your career in education. I mean, you guys have seen this KWLM. A lot of teachers use this as, as something you do before you read a particular piece of text that you might not know a lot of information about. So you'll start off talking about like what you know about the topic, what you learn, what you want to know about the topic. After reading the topic, you tell me what you learned, and then you reflect on your findings and the experience of your findings. And basically, the iSearch paper breaks down just like this. And the reason why I showed you that the example of the murder mystery is, you always start off with what you know. Okay, you have this body in front of you who has died, but you gather the evidence, and you refer back always to what you know. And just like when you're watching that little riddle from riddle.com, they will almost be able to solve half of that crime just by what they knew already and their prior knowledge with investigating other different crimes. And that's why I showed that to you. And here, I provided you guys with, and let me go ahead, flip to this one, sorry. Here, it says the search of the story. You always start off with doing these three things in the beginning of the iSearch paper. One, you always grab your reader's attention. Next, you tell what you knew already. And last, you tell what you wanted to learn and why. And what I want you to do is take a moment and explore this particular model that I gave you in the collaboration section. And I'm not going to read you through this tutorial, but you can go ahead and take a look at it and notice that here, this girl who's writing this particular research paper, she starts off with an anecdote telling us a story of how she became interested in this topic. An anecdote is a nice little way to kind of tell a quick little story as a means of an attention getter, and it also kind of shares a little bit with what you know. And here, she kind of gets into the K section of the iSearch. This is what I know about my topic already. And then finally, she talks about her purpose for writing this particular paper. After she reveals her purpose, she goes ahead and begins to break it down into several smaller essential questions that will help guide her research. Now, I don't want to get overly ahead of myself right now and confuse you, but what we're going to be doing in class today is basically we're going to be focusing on this first section. We're going to choose a topic together in class, and we are going to go ahead and write a little bit of a story of how we became interested in this topic, and then we're going to talk about what we already know, and then we're going to work on this conducting of a purpose statement. And I hope this tutorial can kind of help you a little bit as a reinforcement as we kind of go through this process together before we go ahead and hit it off in our bigger iSearch paper later on this semester. All right, take care. Bye.